Hello and welcome to Boozy Book Reports, a simple podcast where we revisit childhood classics whilst drinking copious amounts of alcohol. We're your hosts, Beth
and Sam.
And tonight we're reporting on the girl who owned a city.
She owned
a
whole
it.
city. She made it and she owns it.
Literally. Yeah. This was like the first book I put on our list of things we have to read because this book changed my world when I was in 6th grade. I mean, I don't mean change my world necessarily, but it definitely had a huge impact on me.
I'm really excited to hear what you think about it now as an adult.
Yeah. I mean, I still kind of loved it. Oh my gosh. But before we get into the book, we are going to get into the drinks. Sam has made some delectable concoctions tonight.
Yeah. So we stayed on theme with the book. So not to give away too many spoilers, if you haven't read it, maybe you should if you're listening to this podcast. But one of the big plot points is that they don't really have a lot of fresh food. So we went with canned cocktails, and not the cocktails that come in cans, but cocktails that are made with canned ingredients.
Which is genius, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes.
I thought a lot about this. I was like, what am I going to do? It's a bunch of like 12-year-olds that can't drink. What are they going to have? That doesn't stop them, though, in the book.
Which we started off the night.
This is true.
Straight from the book.
Yeah. Whiskey shots for health.
Yes. So we're feeling very healthy right now. I'm warm and cozy.
Yeah. You had a pineapple chaser on that. Pineapple juice chaser. I had a pickleback.
Which I learned about. I've never heard of that. So a pickleback, for those that are ignorant to the drinking world, is drinking brine from a pickled vegetable as your chaser.
Usually a pickled cucumber, but I did onion and it was not pleasant.
Okay.
It was not a win.
It was a good try, though.
Thanks.
Good effort. Okay. We have two drinks tonight.
We have 2 drinks tonight. So we went with a savory drink and a sweet drink. So we'll start with let's start with the sweet drink.
Okay.
So the sweet drink is a Jungle Bird, which is a classic tiki cocktail. It's made with rum, Campari, which is, I think, my least favorite alcohol, which kills most hipster bartenders. I know. Amaro is not my jam. My brother-in-law can attest. He's upset. He loves Negronis, and Camparis are it's a sort of a pivotal ingredient.
Part of the Negroni?
The Campari is in a Negroni.
Whatever drink?
That's the Sbagliato.
Yeah, that's different.
It's different. Well,
okay.
Yeah, but it's different. This is sweet. So it's got pineapple juice in it, and we used canned pineapple juice because if you're rummaging through your closet, you might have some in your pantry.
And it's garnished so adorably with some canned pineapple and a maraschino cherry.
The red kind, not the kind that I normally use.
No. This is the 99-cent version straight from the grocery store.
It is Food Club brand if you're interested.
I poked myself in the eye with sorry. I did not mean to make that sound. I'm so sorry. Okay.
Do you like that?
How
do you feel about it?
It's good, but it's strong.
You say that about many things. And so I'm just going to say your strength meter might be uncalibrated.
I think so.
I've never made you like a vodka martini or I love a dirty vodka martini. And I know that makes me trash, but I do love it.
Oh, that's strong.
Oh, it's my favorite.
But I taste the bitterness that you were talking about from that grapefruit.
That's the Campari.
But after it leaves me, I kind of like it because I like grapefruit. So
then you might like this.
Yeah. I think it's good. I kind of want to drink it like with some like Hawaiian food.
It's a tiki drink.
Yeah. Like
Loco Moco.
Or I don't even know what Hawaiian food is, but like something like
poke,
sweet,
like you had today.
Like a poke bowl. Yes. Like this with a poke bowl would be like next level.
Nice.
Can't do that at work though, unfortunately. Okay.
So the next drink is we went with, if you're in the back of your, an old person's farm pantry, you might find some V8. This is not V8. I actually used some decent Bloody Mary mix, but we just made a Bloody Mary. But the fun thing about this, I just use a canned Bloody Mary mix because I'm, again, trash and it's the apocalypse. But we used Crater Lake's green chili vodka as the base or as the alcohol.
Oh my gosh, I'm terrified.
Oh, it's not spicy.
Okay.
But then we have a brim and we made stupid garnishes with lots of pickles. And I love this.
I like it.
Really?
Yeah. I don't like the salt on the rim.
Lick around it and then you have clear zone.
Lick around again. You're in the clear zone, baby. Like what?
You have licked sufficiently.
No, I like it though. Yeah.
I'm sorry you don't like the rim. I love the rim, like the rim salt.
I think I've had rim salt one other time though, and I didn't. Honestly, it's a little bit of a texture thing. Like I don't like the grittiness before my drink, but I like it. It's good.
That surprises me. I thought for sure you weren't going to like this one. So I actually just made myself I don't really like a jungle bird. So I made Beth the full jungle bird. And then I made her a baby Bloody Mary.
Cute. It's in a little baby glass.
It's in an old Yoplait glass.
Yes.
Which, again, if you're in the pandemic.
Kind.
It's the it's the French
it's the bougie one. Yes.
The pots. Yes. The pot yogurt.
Yeah, but these are good. Okay.
Ah.
But I'm already like, I need to go easy tonight. I feel it.
Well, feel free to enjoy the snacks as part of your Bloody Mary.
We do have lots of snacks. We actually made like a pantry charcuterie board. Sam brought like amazing Cougar Gold cheese, which if you've never had it, it's freaking amazing.
But also matches with our theme because if you don't know, Cougar Gold comes in a can.
Yeah.
And you think canned cheese is easy cheese, but this is like an English cheddar in a can.
Yeah.
And you do have to open a can and shake a bucket of cheese out, but like... Oh, it's so good.
So we're going to jump into the book now. But before we get started, we're going to read the back of the book. Okay, so if you've never read this before, this gives you a little insight into what we're getting into.
All right. A killing virus has swept the earth, sparing only children through the age of 12. There is chaos everywhere, even in formerly prosperous mid-America. Gangs and fierce armies of children begin to form almost immediately. It would be the same for the children on Grand Avenue, but for Lisa, a 10-year-old girl who becomes their leader. Because of Lisa, they have food and even toys in abundance. And now they can protect themselves from the fierce gangs that roam the neighborhood. But for how long? Then Lisa conceives of the idea of a fortress, a city in which the children could live safely and happily always, and she intends to lead them there.
I mean, good stuff, right? Like,
you have the 90s version. I have the 70s version.
I'm sorry, I got yours on eBay. And so you get what you get. And you don't throw a fit when you buy used.
Well, I actually am very excited. Cool. This looks like every library book I ever checked out in elementary school. So I'm very excited about it.
Yes, which this book came out in the late 70s. And what's interesting, so it came out in 1975. It was written by O.T. Nelson, which I never knew about the author. Like, I just didn't pay attention when I was a kid. I always thought it was a female author. It was a man. And he owned, so again, he has like no information on him on the internets. It's very limited.
And this is kind of like the only, it's
the only book he wrote. And the lead
he owned
characters,
like a business. That's it.
He owned a painting company. And so he was trying to keep it afloat or something. And so then he wrote a book. And I was like, okay. And so it said there was more to come at some point, but nothing ever come of it. I literally cyber stalked for like a good 2 hours to try and find more information. I couldn't really find anything. And I was like, that's cool. Fun fact, the two lead characters, Todd and Lisa Nelson, are actually named for his children, Todd and Lisa. And the stories take place in the Chicago suburbs. This is where he's kind of from. And yeah, there's not just like much known about this author. So there you go. That's all the tidbits I could find about this wondrous book. It hasn't been banned, hasn't really, done anything exciting other than, but it did become a graphic novel. Actually, a few years somebody made it into a graphic novel, and I totally intended to read it. I looked at a few of the pages of it, and it was pretty true to form. But I'm not a huge graphic novel person, so I didn't purchase it because your girl's cheap. Anywho, but we're gonna get into it. So first things first, I read this book when I was in 6th grade in Miss Hanson's class. It was an assigned reading, and we read it in class. And my teacher had, like the teachers that would read to you in class, and they just had like the best reading voices. She was that. She had a great reading voice. And we did this whole unit on this book. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the unit, we ended up like having to create our own like plan and strategy. And we had to make our own community like Lisa ends up doing. Mm-hmm. And I called mine Randland, which genius.
Like Ayn Rand?
No.
Because this is a pretty libertarian book.
No, it's basically based on my last name.
Oh, that makes more sense. I was like, Ayn Rand.
But it stuck with me because when I started my Animal Crossing, I named my island Randland because I love this so much. And I remember like I had to make a banner because at some point a flag comes into play. And so I made my own Randland flag. Yeah. And it's like it was on a poster board, and I kept that thing for years longer than I needed to because I just loved this book so much.
Did you have to do like a system of government and everything, or we had to do that?
No, we just had to make a plan of like like, where would we find resources? And I was like, I know where the cash and carry is. None of these other idiots know. And so I had like a list of like,
You were
like
this girl.
restaurant surpluses and stuff. And, you know, again, this book really stuck with me. I feel like it's going to come up over and over again, but it really resonated me because I was this kind of girl. Like I was kind of the girl that like, even in elementary school, like I would see a problem and I would like get it fixed, or I would go after something and I would create things, and I got a lot of flack for that.
No, you are like a very responsive person. Like if there's a problem, you literally solve the problems at work.
I try to just like seeing issues or potential issues and trying to solve them. And this resonates so much in this, but we haven't even gotten to the book yet. So we're going to get into the book so people know what the hell we're talking about. Trigger warning. So there are some instances of violence in this book and specifically gun violence. So if that's something that bothers you or is problematic, this is not the story to be listening to. We are not going to go into like probably super details, and it's not, I mean, it's bad, but it's not like horrifically gory or anything. So just a heads up. So our story starts off with Lisa. This little, I didn't realize she was 10. I thought she was 12, but she's 10. Did too. Yeah, 10-year-old girl. And she's out like going house to house to find supplies, because we find out that everybody over the age of innocence, over the age of 12, is dead.
Yeah. From a virus. Also maybe a little bit of a trigger warning.
Oh yeah. Trigger warning there. Cause yeah. And I did feel bad, like, cause this was a little bit close to like life right now, a little bit, like obviously not as dramatic, but like pandemic wise, I was like, ooh, we're a little close still. I mean, we're still in it. May not feel like we're in it, but we're still in it. So it's like kind of a lot. So anyway, but she starts off, so everybody's gone. Like all the adults are dead and they've left all of these kids. And so Lisa's trying to just provide for her and her brother, and she's super resourceful. She's constantly thinking about, where can I find more resources? You know, what can I do? And so she's still living in her family home with her little brother, Toddy. And he's like only like 5 or 6, right?
Yeah, he's quite young.
He's like a real baby.
He needs like stories to fall asleep.
Yeah, like again, I can't even like, as an adult reading this, I can't imagine like
a kid at that age.
You know. But then you see pictures of kids from like the quote unquote good old days of like the Industrial Revolution that are like working in factories and they're like 3 years old, and you're like, well, kids really,
they had to grow up quicker back in the day than they do now, right? Like, I think we've talked about this on this podcast, but my great grandmother was 14 when she had her first kid.
Oh my gosh, we have not talked about that. That's amazing.
Yeah, farm people. Yeah, she was 14.
Seeing those images from a time when like children did work in factories, it just like, it reminded me of this, of like, yeah, like kids can do a lot.
Yeah.
You know? So anyway, everybody's gone. All the adults are gone. And so Lisa and her brother live on this street, and there's other kid families too. Like her best friend lives across the street, but they haven't really been talking much because everybody's trying to survive. There's one girl, she's just running around collecting all the kids that like have no families, which sucks to be a baby.
Yeah.
Sucks to be a baby or a toddler.
Honestly, they don't talk about this, but like if you were below a certain age, you might have just died.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah. This is left out of this.
Yes. I mean, for good reason. This is a children's book.
Yeah. She is very resourceful. My question that I had was like, where did she learn all this?
I know. Well, she was in Girl Scouts. Or something.
This reminds me of Orange is the New Black, where the one girl's in Girl Scouts, but her dad is like a prepper and he makes her practice. Yeah. Like I keep wondering, like, what were her parents like? Yeah. They must have been really intense, because she is quite resourceful.
Yeah.
She
oldest
sort of
daughter.
Yeah, but
I know, it's another level.
I was also an oldest daughter, and I don't think if there was a pandemic type thing like this that she was talking about, I don't know if I would have had this.
I think you're pretty resourceful, though. I mean, you grew up on a farm, or at least in farm-esque. Not on a farm, sorry, but farm-esque. You knew how to take care of horses.
Yeah, I could. Well,
and
within
chickens,
reason,
probably.
Yeah,
I mean, you would have been able to.
Cows.
And you're smart, so I think too, like, you know, necessity is
true.
Thing of invention. What is that?
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Thank you.
We need to go back through your Schoolhouse Rock, because there's a whole song about it.
I don't know right now. So she's out getting supplies, and she actually stumbles upon this really great farm. Yes. And it's like this couple didn't have children, and they knew they were dying, and so they wrote this beautiful letter like, we hope somebody finds this house. You know, we have cows and chickens and all these things. Okay.
The cows didn't make it.
The cows did not make it. They were left in the barn for a little too long.
And somebody passed out and couldn't let them out to roam.
Yeah, so that was kind of horrific.
Yeah.
But like they had working tractors, and they had like a library of like how to grow stuff and do stuff. And so like Lisa found this, she just kept finding all these little treasure troves with her little bike with a little wagon hooked up to it. And so her and her brother, like they've been hiding stuff in their house. Like she's really smart. Like she's like, we're not going to have raiders and this. And then they're doing okay. But then things start to shift.
Yes.
Gangs are roaming the streets.
Gangs are roaming. She is nervous about her ability to continue getting food. They're running out of food.
Yes.
And even though she has the secret place or the treasure trove, you know, she's like nervous about that. That won't last forever.
Well, and she's definitely like a long-term strategist. Like I love that about her.
Yeah.
Where like her best friend, like they're like freaking out in their house. And like there's a point where she brings home a bunch of supplies and she goes back to get more. And her little brother gets beat up and robbed of supplies.
Yes.
And everybody in the neighborhood just kind of sits by and watches.
Right.
Which that's still very real.
Well,
like,
and even one of the brothers of like the friend even like might have participated in the beating.
Yes, because he was thinking about joining a gang for protection and for resources, which
it's one way. I mean, we chalk gangs are not great. Obviously, we're not advocating for gangs, but like if you're desperate and you don't have, that is another form of resourcefulness is to say, okay, I don't know where to find these things, but I know people do know, so I'll just join this group of people.
Yeah.
It's not
like,
great. Obviously, that is not the way the author feels about gangs.
No, he's very anti. And the gangs are very like, it's weird to think about because they're these little suburb gangs that are just like a lot. And I feel like all the gangs were mainly boys too.
Yeah, there's even a comment, we can hit it when we get there at the end, but there's even a comment at the end where one of the gangs looks down on Lisa's gang or Lisa's army group of people because they're led by a girl, by a woman. And so, I think it is painted as sort of like the boys are idiots and they're out running around hitting people with sticks and stealing their food.
So Lisa decides, can't remember what she was considering like moving to the farm or how to do that or how to best use those resources. It just didn't, she's just holding it close to the vest. And she knows she needs more supplies. So she decides to learn how to drive a car.
Yes.
Because she can get to the farm quicker and cover more ground. And so she just like hops in the car and like bumping and dragging all down the lane.
Yeah.
And
hits a couple things, is like, whatever. It's the 70s. Those cars are literally made of steel.
Yes.
They will not stop.
Not at all.
No.
And so she loads up the car with supplies and brings it back. And it is noticed.
Yes.
It is very much so noticed.
Yes.
And I can't remember what happens yet.
Oh, the gang comes when she says, she tells Todd, I'm going to go back and get another load. And then the gang comes and steals the supplies and beats up Todd.
Okay, that's where we're at. And then she comes back and he's all freaked out. And then she's like yelling at everybody to like, what, how could you just sit by and let my brother be attacked?
She goes and threatens her friend Jill, not Jill, her other friend.
I can't remember the little girl's name.
The other friend that has the brother.
Yes.
And she goes, Craig's the brother,
yes.
right?
And Craig's the farmer kid.
Yeah, but he's the brother of the friend initially.
Okay. You think I'd never read this book before?
No, I think that it didn't matter where Craig came from. This girl was a badass.
Yes.
And you liked that.
Yes. Also, I just want to say that shot of whiskey might not have been the best choice to start off the night.
It was like a half shot for you, just for the record.
It was in a full shot glass, though.
That shot glass is a very deep,
that was a lot of fluid. Anyway, so the head of this gang is named Tom Logan, and he's such a jerk.
Total turd burglar.
Horrible. And at some point, like Lisa comes back from something and she thinks the tires have been popped on the car, like slashed. But really, the air has just been let out. Yes. And so they use a bike pump to pipe them up. But is that even possible?
Oh, yes, it's possible. I was going to ask you, have you ever done that?
No.
Oh, I totally did that. So my friend Lisa taught me that this was a possibility.
Okay.
Not Lisa of the book, but my friend Lisa from grad school, hi Lisa, taught me that this was totally a possibility. And so there was a point when I first moved here when I got a little hole in my tire and I wasn't really sure how to deal with it. And so for about a week, I drove back and forth to work and I would just pump it up in the morning with my little, it's a great tricep workout.
How long does it take? A long time, right?
No, it's not so bad. It's like probably 3 to 5 minutes. It's not that bad.
Pumping.
Yeah, so you get a workout.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can totally pump a car tire with a bike bike pump.
Oh my gosh, that's really impressive.
So maybe I would have been okay.
Yeah, you would have been fine. So again, Lisa's like, listen, we need to figure something out. Like, we have gangs coming at us. We have limited resources.
Our pets' heads are falling off. This is terrible.
A pet's head?
Oh, sorry. It's a Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, gosh.
Sorry.
I'm like,
everything is awful.
And so she hosts a meeting where she makes popcorn and Kool-Aid because she has resources to bribe the kids.
Yes.
And they all come together and they decide they're going to form their own militia, like their own street militia, to protect themselves against this gang that keeps coming after them. And so it takes some coaxing, but they get everybody involved, and each family decides they're going to have their own alarm. Like if somebody's ringing this bell, to go to this house, and they're going to have patrols. They start making Molotov cocktails, which
I was super impressed by that.
Like, how did you know how to do that? And she's like bribing the kids of like, oh, if you go and get me like you see this gas can, find more gas cans, and I'll give you a toy or candy.
She is really good at motivating people to a point. And I think when we talked at the end of the book, I think but she's good at. She convinces them, that this, and I think she sees it a little bit. There's a lot of comments that she makes about it's so interesting, it's so fun. I really think she sees a lot of this as like a challenge and a game to like figure out.
Absolutely. Well, and I love too that she figured out where to get more resources. So she knew the farm wasn't going to be enough, but she figures out like, where does the food come from? And so she finds like a grocery store warehouse that nobody has discovered yet that is just full to the brim with everything.
Medicine, food, canned goods,
toys,
seeds, toys,
everything. So, and it's just pristine. And like, again, nobody's found it. So she's using her car to get that. And now she's using that as leverage to get people to help her.
Yeah.
So the kids all make booby traps in their houses. They're like, I mean, it's pretty like Home Alone elaborate. Like it's
they got
impressive.
Walks between the houses up above so they can like get between them quickly.
Yes. And so then they have their first encounter and it goes terribly wrong because the kids are not actually a militia. It's like,
in a move that surprises no one, a bunch of 5 to 10-year-olds could not defend their house from the 12-year-olds. I feel like anybody who like had older kids in their neighborhood knew this shit was coming.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, oh, no. You cannot defend against them. It does not matter how many 2x4s you have.
No.
The shit's going down and you're going to lose.
I think they made like no trespassing signs too, which is very like cute, but it's like, yep, those are going to work. And so basically like they get raided while Lisa is doing a food run, and they burn down her house.
Which, to be fair, props to the bullies for knowing who the power is. Like the gangs know who the powerhouse is, right?
Yes.
Because at some point, I think she threatens Tom.
Yes.
Tom Logan. She
does.
threatens him, and then this is retaliation for her threatening him.
Yes, because who is she? She's a girl.
Yeah.
Secondly, she's way younger than him, I think. By way younger, I think it's like a year.
2 years.
Oh, 2 years. Because he just missed the like dying by virus.
Yeah. But like there's a big difference between a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old.
There's a huge difference in hormones and just a lot of things.
Ability to be in a militia.
Yes. And so Lisa's like, listen, this is not going to work. And then she rallies up and her militia's freaked out now. And remember, these are like little kids.
Like she basically promised them, if you do all these things, you'll be safe.
Yeah.
And it turns out didn't mean shit.
Nope. And she's like, this is not going to work. And again, her mind instantly goes to like thinking it through. What's my next step? What's my next step? Which I freaking love. I'm like, yes, what's our next thing? And so she's like
that too.
She's like, oh, I need like a castle on a hill. I need a fortress. I need something. And so she's like, I need something that I can protect, like with a moat and a this. Yeah. And she's thinking it through and she realizes there's this high school on the top of the hill. And she looks up there and she's like, that's it. And so she starts working with her confidant, which I believe is Craig.
It is Craig. Yeah. Craig's her buddy. He's who she shows the grocery warehouse to. Yeah, she
teaches him how to drive, and it's amazing because like she shows him the farm and he freaks out because that's all he wants. He just wants to be a farmer. He wants to grow a garden, have a simple life. Yeah, does not want to be bothered by like
doesn't want to fight the gangs.
No. Yeah, it's like no, thank you. I mean, #relatable. Hashtag I'm old because I just said hashtag. I apologize. I am back in 2009 right now.
Is that chuggy?
It's very chuggy.
Okay.
I'm ashamed of myself. I normally want to do that, but I blame it on the alcohol. I told you.
No. But like after having gone through the last couple of years during the whole like lockdown, I find Craig a very relatable character.
Yes.
I found a lot of refuge in my garden because all I was like, whoa, I'm going to make a victory garden. And I swear I can live off of these, the 5 lettuce plants I can grow in this bucket.
I mean, you kind of do though. Like,
oh, it was amazing.
Yeah. You had a lot
we didn't live off of it.
No, but you had.
Local pumpkin really got me, but.
Our local food co-op. But
yeah, the CSA really took care of me. But there were some like really nice things that came out of our garden that we like worked really hard on and stuff.
There's something beautiful in that. Well, to backtrack just a smidge, I really liked it when they were going on the night runs because they were driving cars with no headlights in city, like down the city street.
Relatable. Just yesterday, as I was leaving work, I found out my car had no headlights.
Oh, that's terrifying.
And so I kind of had to drive with my bright sun, and my brother said I was an asshole.
Well, you did. I mean, that's better than not driving with lights.
I tried to turn them off when I was at a stoplight.
Yeah.
But yes, when I was reading that thing, I was like, oh.
Oopsie.
This is really bad.
Sorry, oops, relatable.
Yeah. Oops, yeah, I've been here.
So I also liked it too. They did one run where they were like driving down the street going like 60 miles an hour.
They raced.
Like just having fun. I was like, I think that's one of the things I liked about this book a lot is that they still had fun. They had moments of childhood fun.
Others did. Lisa, I don't think did. Her fun was figuring out the puzzle. She did not play with Barbies with anybody.
No, but everybody has different types of fun, Sam.
Yeah, I'm
she
just
had
saying.
Fun finding things.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Is like
organizing.
Lisa's fun was the fun that you chalk up to a kid that you also say has an old soul, but is really just creepy.
Yeah. Okay, I just stop. First of all, I was told I had an old soul several times. I was not creepy. I was mature for my age. Maybe parentified, but I found joy in figuring out puzzles like this. I mean, I know. Okay, it's fine. Anyway, so she's working on her puzzle. And so she's telling them like, listen, like she doesn't really tell everybody, but basically
she keeps it really quiet.
Really quiet. Just a few trusted confidants. And I really like it because it's kind of funny because when she first starts this journey of like building this fortress, like it's her idea. It's her plan. It's her everything. She's the driving force, but she almost lets Craig take credit a little bit to motivate and get other people on board because I think he's more quote unquote likable because she is, I think, perceived as harsh and people don't always want to follow her, which, oh my gosh, I can't even tell you how relatable that is. Did I ever tell you that I got kicked off my 5th grade newspaper?
No.
Let me tell you. So in 4th grade, when I was younger, I saw a movie called The Toy, which starred Richard Pryor and this little boy. I think his name's Scotty Schwartz. Ended up being a porn star. Whatever.
Good for him.
But it's about this little spoiled boy. He's like, the little boy's dad is like some billionaire type tycoon. And he takes him to this store and he's like, you can have anything in the store. Well, Richard Pryor happens to be working in the store. And he's like, I want this man. So it's a little white boy wanting a black man. And so the dad.
That's problematic.
First of all, I'm a black person watching this with no context and no family members like navigating this. Again, horrible. There's literally a KKK rally in the movie. And people in black, it's awful. It's awful.
And he now owns. Okay, so I don't know this movie, but I assume there's a good point because Richard Pryor.
I mean, it was from the 80s. So anyway. So the dad has like a one of his mini conglomerate type things is he has like a newspaper, and so they decide to start their own newspaper exposing the dad for all his horrible ways. And this is a comedy anyway. I'm guessing it did not hold the test of time because it didn't hold the time test in the 80s. So
I guess maybe the test of time is whether or not UPN will show or whatever the CW I guess now will show it on a weekend.
I have not seen it on like broadcast for a long time.
Trading Spaces is always on. It feels like.
So anyway, so they create this newspaper, and so they called it The Toy, and it was just like, because the movie's called The Toy because Richard Pryor, the black man, is the white boy's toy. Again,
that's pretty
horrible movie.
Okay, now I'm gonna Google this and see what happened.
You're gonna be like, Beth. Oh my gosh, all of the racist things, and you poor little child watching this when you're 6. But it did inspire me because I always wanted to start my own newspaper. So in 4th grade, I started a newspaper called The Toy, and I wrote it up, and I did it on Ditto paper.
Yeah.
And it was like horrible. So then comes 5th grade, and I'm like, I want to do it was called the C4 Herald because that was our classroom number. And my mom worked at our local newspaper, and she was able to like get some kind of grant or something to get a software that was like floppy disk in the Mac to make your own newspaper. So I'm doing all of this, right? I'm coordinating this. I'm like 10 years old. This was my baby.
Your passion project.
My passion project in 5th grade. And I actually still have the issues because I'm so proud of them.
You should bring them out.
I will definitely get them out. So I had like articles or I had like journalists and they made articles and I was the editor in chief. And like, I think we made like 4 or 5 things. And then one day I got called in for a meeting with the other people that were on the paper. And they were like, we think you're too bossy and we don't want to work for you anymore. And they tried to kick me off of the paper that I did. I got the software. I got the funding. I got the okay from the teacher.
You were like,
I was the driving force.
This is just like Craig and Lisa.
I was like, I freaking hate I hadn't read this book yet, so I didn't have like a role model.
Context.
And I could not believe that like at the Canyon View Elementary Library, these kids are like doing a coup. And I was just like, are you I was so hurt. And I still remember the girl. I'm not going to say her name because, haters want to hate. But like, I just remember feeling like it was one of the first times that my ambition and my drive and my sparkle was really considered a negative. And I saw the impact of others being like jealous or frustrated that they couldn't make it work. And then guess what happened to that paper after I left? Folded. They didn't even do another episode or another issue.
It's like they didn't have a driving force.
Yeah.
You were it.
Oh my gosh. But it was just like
that paper.
I did. And I was so proud of it. And it was just like, but again, that taught me a really big life lesson. And I was so hurt. Like it was one of my first big like heartbreaks as a kid.
I don't think, this is funny because I don't think of you as there are plenty of people that are bossy people. I think I am also one of them. I think I have we talked about this making our cocktails. We have a certain way that things should be, and therefore we think that is how it should be done. But I don't think of you as overly pushy.
I mean, I did like demand someone today. I was working with my people on my team and I said, go make the box and do this. And it wasn't, and I had to stop. I'm like, I didn't mean that as a demand, but I just in the point like where I can see everything that needs to be done. And sometimes it's easier to tell people that are just like, don't necessarily know what should be done next. Like, here's the order of things. And that can be taken that way. But I also feel that if I was a dude, it wouldn't be taken as being pushy or being bossy or being demanding.
Bossy.
I feel like they would be like, "Oh my gosh, they really just take control and they can see the bigger picture and
He's
just like
real go-getter.
They can execute."
Yeah,
and it's like it's not my fault. It's not my problem. And it's like I try to say it with a smile, but there's times I took kids to Peru once. I took like 14 kids there to do like service work. I tried to like keep it back. And we were actually remaking an entire hospital there in Peru. It was amazing. In Ica, Peru. I probably said it wrong. I apologize to the Peruvian people, but whiskey. Anyway, and like I remember like the second day, like I wasn't really the quote unquote leader, but I could see we're not going to hit all our goals because there's not a focus. And so I literally made a kill list and I was just like, okay, I don't want to be pushy.
Of the children on your trip?
Yes. Of everything that needed to be done.
Well, I see the problem.
Yeah. And I posted it up and I said like, hey, do you want me to do what I can do? And they were like, yes, please. Cause we want to get this done. And we got everything on that list done in the next 3 days because again, I can see it and I can see who's good at what and what can do this and who's the best for the job and I can delegate and I can say, hey, and it gets done. And it was like, it was really kind of refreshing because nobody was sitting there like, stop, like you're being annoying. It was very like, please tell us what to do. We want to get this done.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, I can totally, no, I get it. There's occasionally times where Kevin will say, do you do you want it done or do you want to be right? Because I'll come home and I'll be the same thing. Like so and so doesn't want to listen to me. They just need to do the damn thing, and it'll be done, and they'll be happy with it. And and he always is, he always is encouraging. Okay, if they're not going to listen to you, just find another way to get them. And actually, I think Lisa does this with the whole Craig thing.
Yes,
about letting him speak, even though it's her ideas that are coming through his mouth.
Yeah.
And I think that's a thing that I think a lot of, I don't know, it's probably a lot of women end up learning.
Yeah.
Where do you want it done or do you want to be right? And sometimes I just want it done. Yeah. I don't give a shit who says it.
Yeah.
I will happily tell somebody else who is more like charismatic than I am to tell people to do this damn thing. I'll just find the nearest tall white man. That sounds awful.
That sounds horrible, but
I mean, and then see if he's sympathetic to my cause. I'll get him to tell people to do it, and then they'll do it.
So Lisa has made a plan now. She has a strategy. She knows what she wants to do.
She has her core group.
She has a core group. She's like recruited all of these different people for different, like basically different heads of different departments, for lack of a better word, procurement and safety and defense and education
medicine.
And housing, medicine. Like she does a really great job. And she's like, they work really hard to like get it ready for them to move into. And in the dead of night, they load up all the kids. They're like, they don't even tell them. They're just like, go pack a bag. They load them up. And under the stillness of night, they go up to this castle that they built on the hill. That was an old high school. And so then they spend the next month, they just retrofit the school. They are blacking out windows. They're like, she's like militant. She's like, there's not to be any light at any time.
Any sound. She's really, she's basically, is trying to set up the situation where the kids of it's not Glen Ellen, their street have just disappeared.
Yes.
And there's nobody is following them.
Yes. And she's like, and she lets them know, hey, when we're ready, we are going to announce to the world that we're here. And they spend all this time getting ready. They're freaking training guard dogs. And like, I mean, they are really going all in. They're learning to like weld.
Yeah. Like the guard dog thing didn't check out for me that wouldn't be just super loud.
Yeah. It wouldn't have worked. But yeah. But I get it, So they take this time and they get their city perfect. And they are having, I loved it because they were having these late night meetings. There's only one light source in this blackened out room in the top of the building that the heads of each department are meeting with Lisa. And she stays up all night, every night to just get it done.
Which she had to sleep at some point.
But she's young. I mean, well, they actually need more sleep when you're a kid.
Yeah, she's going to hit puberty and she's going to need to sleep like 18 hours a day like a cat.
Yes. Well, good thing she's not there yet. So they spend all this time getting it ready, and then they announce themselves to the world. They like are hitting pots and pans. They're on the roof.
They put up a flag.
Yep. I thought they had like fireworks or something. They also
just
have
shot
like
guns in the air because they took over a cop station. And they took the guns.
And they also have like oil drums ready to go for defense. I mean, these kids are like Kevin McAllister on the next level.
Yeah.
And so now everybody knows.
Yep.
Everybody knows, and they become a target.
It feels like that was a stupid move on her behalf.
It was.
Maybe cocky.
Yeah. But I think too,
Hubris.
like sometimes you just want to like look at what I did. And I think it's...
No, if you're literally hiding from gangs, you look at what I did.
It's not the move. But she's also 10.
She has these moments of brilliance. This is what I got frustrated with.
Yes.
She has these moments of brilliance, but she also has these absolute moments of stupidity, which like, I think that even her moments of stupidity, the author probably thought, what a genius girl. She's dumb as hell. Shut up. Keep it quiet.
There's moments.
Like, don't announce your shit.
No.
You're literally begging all of these gangs, which it's, hinted in the text are continually growing.
Yep.
That, look, I have all this shit on the hill and you can't have it.
Yeah.
That's now their problem that they're very excited to spend the time figuring out.
True.
They're dumb. They're really dumb.
One silver lining is that it did let people know there was another place. And so it did bring in other families. So for a while that they debated, but they decided they were going to let other families in based on if they knew them, if they could trust them. They put them through some tests.
A vetting process.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're like, do you know so-and-so? And if they said yes, they'd be like, no, you don't. And then get turned away type of thing.
Tom Logan. That's who it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
They had a little test.
And so Jill's in charge. Jill was the girl that was taking in all the kids, and she's now the head of medicine. And she's also like helping all these, like, they make all these little family rooms.
Child families
of different, sometimes it's with their siblings and other times it's not. And putting them into different rooms. And like, I think at first they were like, we can have 50 and like, but one day we can be able to have like 500 kids in here, which I'm like, what high school is that? That's impressive.
Okay.
I mean,
how many kids went, wait, what high school did you go to?
I went to Kennewick. I mean, there was a ton of kids there.
How many kids went to your high school?
I don't know, a few thousand maybe.
A few thousand.
Right?
Really?
Well, I mean, our graduating class was like 400 plus.
It's probably like 1,500. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
We had 2,500. So there were 1,500 when I left my high school. And when my brother went through, there were 2,500. It was a brand new high school when I went.
I'm sorry, isn't a few thousand like a couple thousand?
It's like 1,500 if your graduating class is 400.
I don't know.
Times 4, it's 1,600.
Plus an additional 200 people for staff and support.
They're okay. Okay.
I just think I get that there could be that many kids, but it's just the thought of that many kids.
Well, if they're not living in multi-room things. If you put, 5 kids to each room.
Yeah.
Think about how many classrooms there were in your high school. I could see that.
I mean, I believe it. It's just amazing to think that they were like, oh, we're going to grow this into actual city. And Lisa makes a constitution and she's like, I am the owner of this city. It's my way or the highway.
Misstep. Absolute misstep.
Why?
This is where I was like, oh, she's shit.
This is where I'm like, genius.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Democracy is overrated in the apocalypse.
Okay.
I just think with these two.
No, this is where I lost it with her. So to this point, I was like, oh, because this kind of happens, like not quite. This is like 3/4 of the way through, she gets this like, I own this city.
Yeah.
This is true. Maybe she owns this. Maybe it was her idea, but it is completely supported by her team.
Yes.
By the people under her team.
Yes.
And she makes no acknowledgement of this. People aren't going to last. It does not matter. Like maybe if people are scared for a little bit, but she will eventually have a challenger.
Oh, yeah.
And instead of like having it as they paint it as all these kids are so thankful for her dictatorship.
Yeah.
And I think that, sure, fascism exists, obviously, and occasionally it's very popular with certain groups of people.
Yes.
But she's eventually going to have a challenger. She's already had the issue where she's not the most charismatic. She's a fool. She's a fool to do this.
Oldest daughters, man. Sometimes we just go all in and we don't see the big picture sometimes, Sam, with it. Not everybody wants to listen to us.
You literally just told a story about how you saw all the big pictures and people didn't listen to you. She is a moron because she doesn't, she literally sees that Craig is more charismatic than her. And she says, I own everything. I made it, therefore I own it. And that's not even true. I got so fired up here.
Wow.
She doesn't actually, and she came up with many ideas, sure. But we work in an idea economy.
Yeah.
Like we work in the field of the sciences. I have lots of ideas, but lots of other people bring them to fruition.
Yes.
I have to give ample credit.
Yeah, words do.
She does not do a good job of that.
I agree. I will say that she's 10 and she just doesn't know. I do understand like on the onset of this, how you have to have sometimes that type of leader to just like get it done and
great.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I do agree. Like eventually she needed to like maybe strong arm in the first getting it set up and then like, okay, now we have it together. Let's.
And then introduce an employee appreciation month.
Absolutely. They all get gift cards to the get an extra scoop of beans at the cafeteria.
At Star Child Bucks.
Yeah. So they're actually living pretty well for a year.
Yeah.
Like they've had different groups different gangs come up against them. Tom Logan has attacked them twice already and things are going okay-ish.
Yeah, they're
There's
doing
some
an
stress.
okay job. Yeah.
But they have expanded and they have many more children there and things are going okay-ish. But then something changes. Everything's kind of going according to Lisa's plan and then things change. And basically she is, I don't even remember all of the details now, but she's kind of like, her cockiness gets her for sure.
It does.
She's out on top of she goes up to like the rooftop and there's
to the ramparts.
Yes. And there's a patrol out there, and then they notice that it's too quiet.
Yeah,
the dogs aren't barking.
The dogs aren't barking, which also means that their quiet time was not as quiet as I thought. But
yes.
whatever.
And so she decides to investigate by leaving the safety of this building that nobody's been able to enter, and goes down on, not parasails. What's the word when you go down on a rope? Rappels. Thank you.
I did that in Mexico. Oh. I nearly peed myself. I was so scared. Anyway, keep going.
Was it in a tall building? Probably nature, right?
It was into a cenote, like a swimming hole thing.
Oh.
They asked me to remove my hand so I could take a better picture, and I removed the wrong hand because I was scared. And they said, no, do the other one. And then I was so scared. Anyway,
that's
keep going.
Horrific.
I'm not good with heights.
So she goes down and she quickly recognizes that this is an ambush. She's in trouble. The dogs are dead, and she's just like trying to.
I don't even think she brought like a gun with her.
No, she just went down there, and then all of a sudden, bam, she gets shot
in the arm.
But the kids don't realize that, and she is bleeding, and it was Tom Logan and his gang. And so thankfully she does get rescued by her brother and Jill, who's the medical person. And Craig. And they get her to the farm, but Tom takes over the fortress.
Yes.
He's like, this is my city now, biatch. First of all, don't call me a biatch. Secondly, not your city.
I don't think he called her a biatch.
He did not, but that was the attitude.
Oh, Kevin and I call that the implicit bitch.
Oh.
Where you say something with enough spice that at the end there's a bitch implied.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was very much that.
Implicit bitch.
It was really sad because Lisa's injured. They take her to the farm because Craig knows about the farm. And Craig's happy as a clam. He's like, I'm out of this city. I got my farm life back. He's like reading all the books and like, I got
Farm Simulator 2000. Let's go.
He's like on the tractor, just happy as a clam.
And he's like, Eliza, you'll make pies and I'll sit out on the farm and we'll have a good old life.
And Jill's like, we got to get the bullet out. And they find whiskey.
Yeah.
That's why
she goes full like house.
Yeah.
Full house MD. Yeah. Like goes in, digs it out. And she's like, keep drinking whiskey, Lisa.
Yeah. And they're like, then they sew her up and like, I mean, again, in fact, I think they give her aspirin, which I'm like, aspirin is not good.
There is no aspirin. Remember? Because that's why they have to keep giving her whiskey there.
Okay.
And she thinks about it. She's like, who already took stuff from this place? It was me.
It was me. I just remember her talking about them. They must have been looking for aspirin. I'm like, don't give her aspirin. She's going to bleed out. Like, that's aspirin doesn't clot. Like,
no,
it's
Jill,
a blood thinner. Stop.
Jill, you didn't read close enough.
They get her stabilized and they decide to send Todd back to the fortress, to her city, to be a spy.
As a spy.
And they decide that he needs to be in disguise because he's very recognizable. And
so he goes full RuPaul.
It's amazing.
Lisa's like, who was the visitor?
He was like, he dressed as a nice, he dressed in like a cute little dress and like had a wig and everything.
Dark hair, yeah.
Yeah.
He looked fine.
Yeah. And so he would sneak in during the day. And this takes like a few days for them to figure out. And he's relaying messages and they're realizing that like, first of all, Tom's an idiot, just like we knew he would be. He's not running the city well. Mm-hmm. He's trying to do it with brute force. And even though that Lisa kind of had her own way of brute force, it was a different kind of brute force.
She was adamant about things, but it wasn't just like she didn't ever beat the children, and Tom beats the children.
Yes,
they say he's cruel to the children.
Yeah, and I think that's sometimes one thing about being a strong woman, and I feel like I've been accused of this, is just like, it's like, sometimes I just want to look at people like, you don't even know what brute is.
Yeah.
Like you're acting like I'm being mean, or you're acting like I'm hurting.
Like I've really,
hurting
negatively impacted your life.
Yeah. And I'm like, and then if you sometimes like, you want to see me be mean? I can be mean. Actually, I can't. I'm not really that good at it. Although some people would, and I'm mini mean.
I think I haven't seen you be.
When was I mean? Was I mean to you, Sam?
No, you never mean to me.
I probably given a look before.
Yeah, and there's a tone where you've been like.
I probably have an annoyed tone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of yelled at somebody once. But I did it in a funny way. It was fine. But then I felt bad.
I have yelled. Yeah, I have yelled. I at one point actually hung up on a call at one point and said, I will not be talked to this way, and hung up.
But and then they were being horrible.
They were being horrible.
Yeah.
But then I ate a whole, like, those little ice creams because I was really upset.
I always think I'm going to be such a badass, you know, and then it's like I want to cry because I get so upset and I don't want to, even though like part of me wants to be that person that's able to like just go up and like go off on somebody and blah, blah, blah. I don't feel good about it.
No.
And so
it shouldn't feel good. I mean, if you're ever in the situation where you have to like really yell at somebody or say like, usually things have at that point like progressed past a good point anyway.
Yeah.
But if you're ever at the point where you've had to like go off on somebody, it's not a good feeling. You know, there's like the Dalai Lama quote about anger is taking poison and waiting for the other person to die.
Oh, yeah.
And it's sort of true. You're just making yourself feel worse. But sometimes there is, I mean, Jesus in the temple, there's righteous anger.
Yes,
and there's things to be upset about and angry about and that are completely reasonable. And, you know, you still kind of feel bad afterwards. But there is a point of, yeah, no, that was the right move.
Yeah. I don't want to say it's manipulative, but there's been times when like someone's come at me and it was like my friend or someone else that has like instantly like come to my defense. Like, that's not true. And it's like, I don't want to say you ally yourself with people, but I think it's important to have people around you that are willing to go to bat for you.
Yep.
Because it's like I'm not always the best at that. So thank you for my friends that are just like, oh, I will go off. Like I have one friend, she's so feisty. And not that we ever want to be in a situation where it's like I'm racially profiled where we're out or whatever, but I have told her stories about things that have happened to me here. And she's like, ooh, I wish I was there.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, and not everyone understands this is kind of side quest, but it's like, it's not always easy to advocate for yourself.
No, that's true.
Or to be the one to like, hey, this is something that's racist and wrong all the time. So, or misogynistic and wrong or whatever.
You advocated for me when I was a postdoc.
Yeah.
I had a really unfortunate incident that happened to me at work or in a work affiliated event. And I was too scared to rock the boat. And you absolutely advocated for me in a way that I'm incredibly thankful now.
I was ready to throw hands.
That was such a weird thing.
That was such a weird thing. But yeah.
Sometimes it's good. You know, my friend Lisa comes, same Lisa from earlier stories. She came with me one time when I went to the doctor because I had a pretty, like, I just kind of it was when I was finding out that I had migraines. I had silent migraines, and I had one that like messed with my speech, and I didn't know, and I didn't always know the questions to ask. She offered to come with me because she said sometimes when you're in that situation, you need an advocate.
Yeah,
and it's true.
It's true.
I was just so baffled by what was going on that she asked so many good questions and just was there. I always hope that I can be that for somebody else. You know, that like. And there's a couple of times I've gotten feisty on other people's behalf. There was actually one point we were in a club in Denver when I was in college. And I was still in the impression that if you told a guy no, he should just fuck off.
Yeah.
and then he hopefully won't kill you. But my friend didn't want to dance with this guy. And I was like, you heard what she said. We were not old enough to be drunk. I was just, because I hadn't been drinking for real. And I was like, you heard what she said. She doesn't want to dance with you. And my friend was like, okay, calm down. And I was like, no, this is bullshit. You don't have to dance with him. And she's like, I'm just going to dance with him a little bit. It'll be fine. And I was like, that's bullshit.
Absolutely.
But then now I'm like older and I'm like, oh, that could have gotten us in a lot of trouble. But yeah, it was, you heard. She had to calm me down.
Well, I think in this story, Craig and Jill and Todd are advocating for Lisa because they're all trying to like almost convince her like, hey, we don't have to go back. We have this farm. We know how to find resources.
We can set it up again. Yeah. We can do our thing.
And she is so adamant to go back to that city and
almost obsessive at this point.
Yeah. And I think, part of it is the ego, I think, but I also think she does genuinely care about the citizens and the other kids. I do.
I'm making a face. That's why Beth is changing her tone.
Well, maybe because I cared about the other kids and I'm living it through Lisa's eyes. I'm like, well, I care about those kids. I want to go back. But
I think she does care to a point, but I think her caring is flawed. Her caring is that she thinks she knows. She thinks she's the smartest person in the room at all times.
Yeah.
And I think there's probably 90% of the time in this book she is.
Yeah.
But I think that she thinks she always knows what's best for the other kids and that she knows the solution and she knows. And this comes out in her argument. So she has an argument with Craig because Craig doesn't want to go back. He wants to be a farmer. And let me pull it up. She has this argument with Craig and he calls her out on her bullshit, basically. He says, "That's funny, Lisa. It was your city. It was your own city when you owned it. Now that we have to fight to get it back, it's suddenly our city." And they had this argument, right, where she said, it's my city. And he's calling her out on it and says, now that you have lost it, it's our city. And he's totally right to call her out for this. And then she says something to the effect of, "I'm sorry," she said, "will you help me plan the recapture of my city in which your safety will be protected? Craig, I didn't mean it the way it sounded. I need your help now. I truly do. I can't force you. But will you help me?" And I wrote here, she still kind of doesn't get it.
Yeah.
What he's saying, which is that I think she thinks that she always knows the best idea of what it's good for everybody else's safety. And I think she's right to some extent. Like, there are gangs and they are going to come for Craig's stupid little farm. But they might not.
Yeah.
And he might just be able to be quiet and hang tight. And maybe he might even make a relationship with the gangs where he sells them produce or something.
Yeah.
But she always thinks she knows everything.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like you relate to Lisa?
I feel so relatable. Like, honestly, like, I think that's a huge character flaw in myself, though. But it's that notion of like, I know what's best in almost every situation.
I literally, I can relate. To my sister the other day, she said something about that we used to call her the mother. And she would kind of mother us, and she always has, sort of had mother-like traits. And then she said, "Well, I feel like you always mothered us more, like you." And I said, No. I think you're confused with maternal instinct and an insufferable know-it-all. And like, I always think I know what you should be doing. And so I can totally relate. My sister who listens to this podcast will totally call it out. That I always think I know what's best for other people. Yes. It's also easier to know what's best in other people's situations than your own. So
I know what's best in my own situation. I just refuse to act. It's perfect.
I mean, yeah. Okay.
I literally will sit there.
Shut up.
Yeah.
I'm in this podcast and I don't like it. Okay.
Yeah. It's like,
that's bullshit. Yeah. I'm like, I know what I should be doing. I'm just not doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that so I see where that's very relatable, but at the same time, I think that it's a bad skill in a leader.
Oh, yeah. If we were able to see this in the next, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but like, you see you see the foreshadowing of people are going to leave and people are going to do stuff.
Yes.
But I do think as she gets older and as she has more experience leading bigger and bigger groups, that some of that will shift and change. Hopefully.
But she hasn't. I mean, she's been faced with this a couple times and she hasn't changed her stance. It's still referred to as the girl who owned the city. She still sees that she owns the city.
I'm just hoping because it worked out for me, Sam. Okay, I grew. Maybe it's because I read this book, but I grew. I learned that sometimes it's like you have to ask for help and you have to let people teach you and you have to like just bite your tongue sometimes and go with someone else's plan, even though you know it's not going to work. And then once it fails, you can come in with your own plan. Okay, I've learned.
So we should actually hit the end of the book because I did write at the end, will Lisa be a good leader in the future? We discussed that.
Well, okay. So how she reclaims the city is first first of all, they go and try to recruit more people.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because you get to see outside of their small community what's happened, which some towns are gone, completely gone.
This is dumb. I'm going to say this is a stupid move.
I think it's dumb too.
Yeah, because basically she's like, mercenaries have never turned code on them.
Right.
Yeah, come on, girl.
But she did get some good intel that there were bigger gangs coming out of Chicago.
The King of Chicago.
And that some of the smaller gangs from these towns, they were like joining those gangs and that it was a real threat in the future.
Yeah.
That was good, but then she exposed herself. So they do this whole like...
Well, she punched a dude in the face too.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I get it. Like every once in a while, okay, this sounds horrible, but one of my quote unquote fantasies, not sexy fantasies, but I just want to one day punch somebody with all my strength just to see if I can punch.
Okay. One, don't punch anybody. You have a strong chance of either getting hurt or hurting somebody in a way that puts you in jail And that's not that fun. 2, you can also really like stick up your hand.
No, Sam. Okay, let me roll this back. So my fantasy isn't to walk up to a stranger and punch them. My fantasy is to go to a jiu-jitsu studio and work with the sensei or the master or whatever the top term is.
Yeah.
And have him be in pads and me just punch to see if I actually have any strength.
When I was in high school, this girl, I had been lifting a lot at the time. And this girl was like, I want to see how strong you are. You should punch me in the arm. And I did punch her in the arm. And I left a gnarly bruise.
Oh.
I felt really bad later.
Yeah.
Like I could have really hurt her.
Yeah.
But she was like, oh my God, isn't that funny? And I was like, no, why did I do this? Also, I grew up in a more like a family that like with the siblings would occasionally
different.
would fight. Yeah.
Lisa is having a horrible time. She can't find any of the hired hands. So they decide to like break back in. They have like a whole plan.
Well, she gets intel, right? She sends Jill back in.
Yes.
And Jill maybe like outs it that she's still alive.
Yes.
And she gets intel that the kids are stoked and she goes in there like partying.
Yeah.
Because they're very happy.
And don't the kids come to the farm? Or is that after the coup?
I think it might be after. They like are outside partying or outside of the thing saying like Lisa's still alive, Lisa's still alive. So she says they decide that now's the time and she's going to break back into the school and go fight Tom Logan.
Which is funny because she goes up to like their old room that they used to meet in for all their strategy meetings. And he's there and he's like totally pretending to be like remorseful.
Again, smartest person in the room. There's 2 of them and it's not her.
Yeah.
Not at this moment.
No, because she totally no weapon, nothing.
Well, she has a gun.
Weapon, but then she gives it up.
Gives it up.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh my God, she gives up the gun. She gets fooled, and then he's like, "Tricked you, bitch."
Yeah, and then she's like, "Okay," and then she ends up leaving, right? And then all the kids leave, right? What happened? I can't remember.
Oh my God, this is so stupid. I was so mad that this is the way this ended. I think our good friend O.T. Nelson got sick of writing the book. He just was like, oh, we gotta end this. I gotta paint houses again. She says, Tom, I know what you're scared of.
Oh yeah, she does psychological warfare.
She psycho kills him. Yeah, psycho killer. Qu'est-ce que c'est? What the heck? And so she's like, I know what you're scared. And he's like, you're right, I am scared. And then he just runs away.
Yeah,
this is some Chinua Achebe lame ass ending. Goes in the evil forest. Not satisfying at all.
No, yeah, it's very like
so she's a psychopath.
Okay, relatable. Okay. So basically, she reclaims her city.
Yeah,
and there's indications that like Craig's gonna go to the farm. Jill eventually is gonna leave and go to work and take over a hospital maybe or do something different.
And that they're gonna have to eventually fight the King of Chicago.
Yeah, she knows that's gonna come.
It's just a man with like 15 pierogies.
Yes.
Which is what I imagine is in Chicago. What's in Chicago?
In this book, there's warlords in Chicago. So
I hope there's a warlord that knows how to keep the recipes of pierogies.
I don't think so.
There is a pierogi buffet. You know that, right?
No.
There's a pierogi buffet in Chicago. And this is my dream. I want to go to Chicago and I want to go to the pierogi buffet.
Oh, okay. Let's do it. I have somewhere we can stay for free so then we can get more buffet. So anyway, it basically ends, it kind of just putters off. Like it's
again, O.T. Nelson got tired of writing this book. He's like, shit, I got houses to paint. I got jobs again. It's summer. I gotta go.
Literally, it's like chapter 17 is like 4 pages and it's like, it's the whole end of the story.
Yeah.
It's wild because she, gets Tom to go away by just like psycho.
Not even. She's like, you're scared. And he's like, oh my God, you're right. Therapy doesn't exist because everyone's 12.
Yeah. And then I think it's Jill is like, hey, like people are excited. They want to see you. And she's like, no, I got to get back to planning and blah, blah, blah.
I'm tired. And she's like, no, we got to give a speech.
And she's like, no, which is weird because I'm like the places that you'd think that she would want the accolades and the applause.
No,
she doesn't take them.
She's not about that. She's about ownership, but she's not about the thing.
Yeah.
She's not about the fame of it all.
Yeah.
So I think that's true. I don't think that's what motivates her. I think it's the game of planning motivates her. But that being said, I think she's a shit leader.
I mean,
I think she's not going to last.
I think she's better at logistics and strategy.
Somebody,
you know what I mean?
Somebody put her in like Amazon.
Yeah. But I do. I think that she's one of those, and I understand that because again, okay, let me take this back. So the book basically ends. She's just kind of looking off into the distance, and she's just like, I don't know how I'm going to like come against the king of Chicago. I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, but I know I'm going to figure out a way to show them. I'm going to figure something out. And it says that the last line is, and the girl who owned a city walked through the door to the waiting crowd of children wanting to lift her up and hoist her into whatever. So my feeling is yeah, I don't think she was a great leader in the sense of leading. But she was so good at like, she was resourceful. And I honestly think she probably would have been a better leader if it was a small group where it was just like more people. Like if it was like 20 people and it was other people that she felt that she respected. Yeah. And that like a Craig that can come toe to toe with her and like talk her off.
Right.
You know?
Well, she was really good with it when she was actually, that was one place she did a good job. She like was good to surround herself with a small committee who could advise her.
Yes.
And she would, to a point, take their recommendations.
But I agree. She wasn't the best leader. But this was one of this. I
don't think the ending thing is going to do anything to curb her potentially more like despotic tendencies.
Despotic? That was a great word.
She's going to be a despot.
A despot?
A dictator.
Yeah. I get it though.
A depot.
Yeah. I mean, I know you're not supposed to want to be a dictator, but I sometimes like it when I get to be. I know it's not good, Sam.
No. I liked this book, and then there was a point where I was like, is this right-wing propaganda? Because it was all about ownership and freedom, and you're free and you own things, and that makes you free. And I literally wrote, you can see here on this page, LOL, right-wing propaganda. Some comment about Kool-Aid and freedom. But I liked her resourcefulness. Yeah. I thought that was really nice. I thought she was very clever. But I do think that there were times where I think, again, she thinks she's the smartest person in the room at all times.
I did like, too, like it was a different, maybe not a different take, but it was an interesting take on a female character. Yes. Where she literally, she was faulted and she didn't fall into a lot of the tropes that normally fall into with these types of characters.
I do pick up a little bit of, though, like not like other girl energy, because all the other women in the book are like, I want to be on the farm and raise a family, or I want to have baby families like Jill. A lot of the other women are fairly weak, and there aren't a lot of other strong female characters, despite actually her being written as a very strong female character, which, I actually thought that was fairly well done, that there wasn't some of even the tropes that sometimes strong female, quote, strong female character trademark, that sort of like fall into, I think that she was written really well. Not many of the other female characters were written very well. Yeah. Jill was interesting.
Jill was
getting there. She was maybe the best of them, but like a lot of them still were like, I'm going to, again, you could take over the house and I'll run the farm.
I think too, like there wasn't a lot of development for a lot of the characters. They only developed a few characters fully.
I don't think Lisa developed very much. She was kind of the same the whole time. Her plans got bigger, but the same ideas were the same things.
I still freaking love this book.
I'm not saying don't love this book. I love all sorts of books that are maybe a little problematic.
12-year-old me is into it. I think as an adult, like I see the flaws and stuff, but when I reread this, it really did it took me back to being that girl that felt very disenfranchised, did not feel powerful. And it was a very like reclaiming my power type of story. And I appreciate that, because I think that, when I was growing up, I didn't necessarily have a lot of role models like this that were not afraid to be ballsy and like be like, no, this is how I want to do it. This is my city. And I think
12-year-old me would have loved this book too. Or 10-year-old me would have thought this was this shit. I agree. I think this is partially because I'm reading it for the first time as an old sad,
been through the last 5 years of life.
I was like, the pandemic was nothing like this. This is ridiculous.
But I enjoyed it. So
I just want to be Craig and have my farm.
I mean, relatable. So here's the question. In a apocalyptic scenario, who are you? What character would you be? Or where would you land as far as like, how do you survive?
That's a good question. Neurotic hermit, certainly. honestly. like bar the windows, hole up. We always had this plan in LA because I used to live in Los Angeles. Like if there was we had the first year we were there, we had a windstorm and it basically shut down the city for a week and like people didn't have power for an entire week.
Jeez.
We were fine. Though I did watch a woman try to basically high center her car trying to drive over a tree, which I was like, what are you doing? This is so stupid. And so after that, we sort of developed a plan. I'm like, oh, if the big one hits, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
And we were always of the opinion of like, we are not the strongest. We are not the fittest. So we need to hole up.
Yeah.
And just like, the grocery store was right across the street, but we weren't going to run that grocery store. Gangs were going to run that grocery store, roving gangs, Yeah. And so we were like, well, we just need to have enough to survive and hold it out and wait. So definitely neurotic hermit is my like pandemic persona.
Okay, that's
which actually did kind of check out during the pandemic. I was like, maybe we should get a farm. Should we get a couple of goats? Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you?
I think I would be a Lisa. I think I would end up I'd probably get murdered at some point because I was a dictator, or I'd be somebody's right-hand person logistics wise. And I would just be that person that goes to the next dictator and like figures stuff out for them. Cause I feel like I'm good at putting logistics together and I'm not good at other things. Like I wouldn't be great at, like I've tried to grow my own vegetables, failed. I killed every plant. I've tried to like, I tried to bake stuff and failed. Like, I don't know. I just feel like I'm not the person to be like, oh, I know how to like I can make a booby trap. I don't know how to do any of that. I don't know how to fire a weapon. I don't know how to do anything. So
you are incredibly good at getting things done. I think maybe I take back my answer. I would probably be, I might be a little more Jill too.
I could see you're very helpful. I think you would be hermit helpful.
Yeah, I'd be like, come over here. I'll leave it on my porch.
Yeah, like I think that you would be helpful to people and you would take, you have a natural tendency to take care of people. So,
I mean, we delivered cocktails, which I'm sure really helped people.
Which literally during the pandemic, I did nothing for anyone else. I only took care of myself.
True?
Yes, it is. Think back to it, Sam. I never reached out. I mean, I reached out a little bit.
That's not true. I delivered cocktails to your house.
For my birthday, but I didn't do anything for you.
That's okay. Doesn't matter. You were my friend and when I needed to get stuff done at work, you helped me.
Yeah, but that's like during the pandemic, you forced me to go outside and walk because I wouldn't leave my house for days because I was like, I don't feel like doing it. Like, again, I just was like.
Okay, so maybe it would be Hermit Jill.
Yeah.
I would not want to, okay, if there wasn't the threat of disease, which there was during the pandemic, the best thing was to stay home. But if there wasn't, which is what the situation there, I'd probably be more Jill.
Yeah,
I would just amass a small family of people that were sort of by themselves or something.
Yeah, and I would use my skills for manipulation and psychopathic tendencies.
Yeah, you can come live at our house and manipulate people. Yeah, that's great.
I would just be like, hey, I need eggs. And Sam would be like, oh my gosh.
I'd be like, duh,
you did one nice thing for me like 5 years ago. Here's some eggs. And I'd be like, thank you.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I would bring you eggs.
I know. You're very sweet. Okay, so what would you rate this book? I have to rate it as 12-year-old me, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, so 12-year-old me would rate this 50 cans of beans.
Oh my God. No. You didn't even have cans of beans until we had that one snowstorm.
What you talking about?
And then I helped you by making you go get more beans.
Yeah. 50 cans of beans, and a sack of flour, because it was fun.
Oh my God.
It was hard. It fed my soul.
I'll go with. I'm going to. I liked it, but I did have some fundamental problems.
Yes, you did.
So I'm going to say 6 out of 10 Randvilles, but this Randville is Ayn Randville. It is 6 out of 10 Atlas Shrugged.
Okay.
Very libertarian fantasy here going on. But I liked it, actually. Yeah. I liked it. But there were parts where I had to be like, what the hell is this girl doing? She's an idiot, but she's also 10.
She's also 10. I mean, I had to keep going back to like, she's 10. She's 10. Yeah, and she's trying to take care of her brother and the world. She's building a new world.
She gets -4 Ayn Randvilles for despotic tendencies.
I just think that I don't know. I still think I just love this character. And I wish he would write more books. I honestly wish somebody would adapt this to a movie or something, but like make it a little bit better, Avi, like a better ending. But like, I think having like and develop Lisa a little bit more to have some give. Yeah. But I would love to see this for young people to see.
Who would play her?
I don't know. Like I'm obsessed
Abigail
right now
Breslin?
with who?
She's the girl
literally an adult now.
Yeah. Okay, it's been a while since I've watched a movie with a kid in it.
I love the girl. The character reminds me a lot of the spunk of the girl from the new The Last of Us series that just came out.
Oh, she's so good.
She was in Game of Thrones, and I loved her.
Oh,
but that's the energy I think Lisa would have. I don't know enough young actresses to say like this person or this person.
I do not remember that girl's name, but she played Lyanna Mormont. She was very good.
She's so good.
Yeah.
Speaking of so good, next month's book. This one is Sam's.
Yeah. And this one's for Courtney, for Cookie Dough.
Okay, so what is it?
It is Angus Thongs and Full Frontal Snogging.
I've never even heard of this book.
I read this in high school, but it's definitely like a teenage girl book.
Oh, nice. I'm excited. It's for like, Valentine's Day.
Yeah, it's like Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret for British children or something.
Oh.
It's good.
You know how I feel about British children, Sam.
This one's got a tan.
Okay, that's okay then. Okay. So if you're enjoying the podcast and would like to support the show, you can share episodes with your friends and family, follow us on Instagram at Boozy Book Report, or leave us a positive review and rating, all which help us to grow. Our theme music was created by the Finley Ghosts. Check out their latest album now. Thank you and happy reading.